Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. Elation filled the air that crisp October morning when Emily bounded into the kitchen, her eyes sparkling with a mixture of nerves and excitement. "Tom," she whispered, clutching a small stick in her trembling hands, "look, 2 stripes." I stood frozen by the coffee machine, the world around me slowing to a near halt. The sight of the pregnancy test was unexpected, miraculous, even, considering the years of disappointment and the countless negative tests that had littered our path to parenthood. I reached for Emily, pulling her into a tight embrace. This is amazing," I managed, my voice thick with emotion. The journey to this point had been anything but easy. After several years of trying to conceive naturally, Emily and I had reluctantly stepped into the sterile world of fertility clinics. Just last week, I had submitted myself to a battery of tests to check my fertility. The results were pending, but in that moment, they felt irrelevant. We were going to be parents. However, the joy was short-lived. Days later, I received a call from the clinic. "Mr. Sterling, your test results have come in," the voice on the other end was clinical, detached. "I'm afraid the results indicate you are infertile. It's highly unlikely you could father a child." The room spun around me as I struggled to digest the words. Infertile? But Emily was pregnant. How could it be? The days that followed were a blur of confusion and concealed dread. I watched Emily, her joy untainted by the secrets I harbored. Each smile, each touch of her hand on her slowly growing belly twisted the knife deeper into my heart. I needed answers but feared the truth. One evening, as the shadows grew long and the world outside our windows settled into the quiet hum of dusk, I confronted her. "Emily," I started, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside, "are you sure there's nothing you want to tell me?" She looked up, confusion etched across her face. "What do you mean, Tom? Are you not happy?" I corrected, my mind racing. "But the clinic called. They say I can't be the father." The color drained from her face, her expression morphing from confusion to horror. "Tom, I don't understand. This doesn't make sense." "Neither does it to me, Emily," I said, my voice hardening. "Unless you've lied to me." Her denial came quick and frantic. "No, Tom. It's not like that. There has to be some mistake." But I was beyond listening. The seed of doubt had grown into a choking vine of betrayal. The next few weeks were consumed by silent meals and long, sleepless nights. My mind became a court, prosecuting every glance she shared with another, every late night she came home from work. Driven by a toxic mixture of hurt and the desire for retribution, I plotted my next moves carefully. I documented everything, sought legal advice, and prepared to expose her supposed deceit. The day I filed for divorce, Emily's bewildered cries echoed in my ears, but my heart had hardened to stone. "I trusted you," I told her coldly as she stood in the doorway, her face a mask of grief and confusion. "But you've broken everything." As I walked away from the home we had built together, I felt the hollow victory of a man who had won the battle but lost everything else. The intrigue of the pregnancy's origin would unravel in the courtroom, a spectacle for all to see, but the cost was the love I once cherished, now tainted by the shadow of doubt and revenge. The silence in our once lively home now hangs heavy, laden with the echoes of our last confrontation. Emily moves about the house like a ghost, her once vibrant eyes dull and hollow. I watch her, every movement feeding my suspicions and fueling my resolve for revenge. This morning, I sit at the kitchen table, pretending to be absorbed in the newspaper while I plot my next move. Emily makes coffee, her hands trembling slightly as she pours the boiling water. Neither of us speaks, the clinking of the spoon against the cup loud in the tense silence. Finally, she turns to me, her voice barely a whisper. "Tom, can we talk?" I fold the newspaper, setting it aside with deliberate slowness. "What's left to talk about?" She takes a deep breath, steeling herself. "About the baby, about us. I've never cheated on you, Tom. You have to believe me. I stand up, my chair scraping harshly against the tile floor. Believe you? I scoff, stepping closer to her. How can I? You're pregnant, Emily, and I'm not the father. What am I supposed to think? Emily's eyes fill with tears, but she stands her ground. There must be some mistake with the clinic's tests, or what? I interrupt sharply. Or maybe it's just as simple as it seems. She wipes her eyes, frustration etching her features. I want to take another test, a DNA test for the baby. And I want you to retake your fertility tests. Please, Tom. I consider her request, my mind racing. Part of me yearns for the simplicity of her innocence, for this all to be a misunderstanding. But the bitterness and betrayal have rooted too deeply within me. Fine, I snap. We'll do the DNA test. But if you're lying, if the baby isn't mine, I want you out of my life. Forever. Her face pales, but she nods, a fragile hope flickering in her eyes. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for giving us this chance. I don't share her gratitude. My heart has hardened into a fortress, protecting itself from further assault. Later that week, we visit the clinic to initiate the tests. The waiting room is sterile and impersonal, each ticking second stretching longer than the last. Emily sits next to me, her hand reaching for mine, but I pull away, leaving her touch hanging in the cold air. Dr. Foster, the head of the clinic, finally calls us back. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, he begins, his tone neutral. We've re-evaluated your previous results, and we're prepared to proceed with the additional tests. As the nurse leads Emily away for her blood work, Dr. Foster turns to me. Mr. Sterling, if you'll follow me, we'll collect another sample from you. The procedure is quick, mechanical. My thoughts churn with every possibility, every potential outcome. What if Emily is telling the truth? What if she isn't? After the tests, Emily tries to reach out again, her hand trembling as it finds my arm. Tom, whatever the results, I hope we can find a way to. Let's just wait for the results, I cut her off, pulling away once more. The drive home is silent, the air thick with unspoken fears and fading dreams. In the following days, I prepare for all possibilities. I meet with my lawyer, outlining the steps for separation if the tests confirm my fears. Each plan is a strike back for my wounded heart, a way to regain control over my shattered life. The call comes on a gray Thursday afternoon, the sky as tumultuous as my thoughts. Dr. Foster's voice is clear, Mr. Sterling, we have the results. Emily and I sit side by side, the phone on speaker between us, as he continues. The paternity test indicates that you are not the father of the child Mrs. Sterling is carrying. The room spins, Emily's gasp of shock a distant sound as the ground shifts beneath me. My worst fears confirmed, yet the victory is as hollow as the love we once shared. Thank you, Dr. Foster, I say mechanically, my voice void of emotion. As I turn to face Emily, her face crumbles, her dream of proving her innocence shattered. But for me, it's clear. It's time to cut ties, to protect what's left of my dignity. The path of retribution is set, the plans for revenge laid out before me, ready to be enacted. The next steps are clear, and they start with saying goodbye to the woman I once loved. The air in our home is thick with the aftermath of revealed truths. I stand in the middle of our living room, the morning light casting long shadows across the floor, illuminating the space where our life together had once thrived. Now, it feels like a stage set for a tragedy. Emily sits on the couch, her posture deflated, the test results lying discarded on the coffee table like a verdict that's too harsh to embrace. I watch her, the chasm between us wider than ever. I need you to leave, I say, my voice cold, my decision irrevocable. She looks up, her eyes red and swollen from tears. Tom, please. There must be another explanation. I haven't been with anyone else. There's got to be. There isn't, I interrupt sharply. You're pregnant, and it's not mine. That's all I need to know. Emily stands, the motion slow, as if carrying the weight of our crumbling marriage on her shoulders. I thought you loved me, she whispers, her voice breaking. I did. And you betrayed that, I reply, the finality in my voice mirroring the shuddering of my heart. She shakes her head, a mix of despair and disbelief. I would never cheat on you, Tom. Please, believe me. I turn away, unable to face the woman I no longer recognize. You have until the end of the day. I can't be in the same house with you. As the hours tick by, the sound of packing tape echoes through the house like a countdown. I stay in the study, every sound a confirmation of the distance now fixed between us. Late in the afternoon, there's a knock at the door of the study. It's Emily, her face pale, her eyes searching mine for something I no longer feel. I'm going to my sister's, she says, her voice steady despite the obvious pain. Can we at least talk before I go? I hesitate, then nod stiffly. We sit across from each other, the room filled with the ghost of our past happiness. Tom, I swear to you, I've been faithful, Emily begins, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. There has to be a mistake with the tests. Or maybe something medical I don't know about. I'm going to keep looking for answers. I look at her, really look, and see only the shadow of the woman I married. Do what you need to, I say, my tone detached. But for me, it's over. We're over. Emily nods slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks. I'm sorry you feel that way. I really am. Goodbye, Tom. She stands and leaves, her departure quiet, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. After she leaves, the house feels emptier than before, every corner a reminder of a different time. But there's no going back. Not now. I pour myself a drink, the liquid sharp as it goes down, much like the reality I'm now forced to swallow. I spend the night flipping through old photos, each memory a slice of a life I thought I knew. Anger, betrayal, and a sense of loss weave through my thoughts, but above all, there's a burning need to move forward, to not just wallow in the hurt but to act on it. The next morning, I call my lawyer, instructing him to push forward with the divorce proceedings. Make it quick and clean, I tell him. I want to close this chapter of my life. As I hang up, I realize the next steps aren't just about legally ending the marriage, they're about reclaiming my life and perhaps, finding a way to heal. But first, revenge seems not just a choice, but a necessity, a way to somehow right the wrongs I feel, even if it can't restore what was lost. The intrigue of Emily's innocence remains, a nagging doubt in the back of my mind, but for now, retribution feels like the only path forward. Weeks turn into months, and the divorce proceedings grind on, each day peeling away layers of a life I once cherished. My heart hardens with each passing moment, fueled by the endless cycle of legal battles and the ever-present echo of betrayal. Yet, beneath it all, a sliver of doubt gnaws at me, refusing to be silenced. One rainy Thursday, a call from the clinic jolts me out of my routine. It's Dr. Foster, his voice unusually tense. Mr. Sterling, there's been a significant error. I need you to come to the clinic immediately. It's urgent. Curiosity piqued and that persistent doubt now screaming for attention, I drive through the curtain of rain to the clinic. Dr. Foster greets me at the door, looking grave. Tom, we've made a terrible mistake. Your samples were contaminated due to a procedural error. You are, in fact, not infertile. The words crash over me like a wave. Not infertile. Then the child. Emily's claims, I start, my voice a whisper of realization. Yes, Dr. Foster interjects. She was telling the truth. She didn't cheat on you. The revelation strikes with the force of a physical blow. Guilt, shame, and the remnants of my rage blend into a toxic cocktail. Where is she? I demand, the urgency fueled by a desperate need to make amends. Dr. Foster hands me a small piece of paper with an address. She mentioned she'd be staying here. It's her sister's place. Without another word, I'm back in the rain, driving with a manic intensity. I arrive at the address, my heart pounding, my mind racing with apologies and regrets. I knock on the door, and Emily answers, her appearance gaunter than I remember, the strain of the past months etched into her features. Her eyes widen in shock, then harden. What are you doing here, Tom? I know the truth, Emily. The clinic made a mistake. I am so sorry, I stammer, the words inadequate for the chasm of hurt between us. Her expression softens, but the wariness remains. A mistake? That's supposed to fix everything? No, it doesn't, I admit, feeling the weight of my actions. But I need to make things right. Emily steps aside, allowing me in. The conversation that follows is painful, each word a reminder of what we had lost. As we talk, the doorbell rings. Emily pauses, her expression puzzled, and goes to answer it. I hear a man's voice, then Emily's gasp of surprise. Curious, I approach, only to see her embracing a man, laughing with joy. My heart sinks. The scene before me cuts deeper than any knife. Who is this? I ask, the coldness seeping back into my voice. Emily turns, her cheeks flushed with happiness. Tom, this is James. He's. James steps forward, extending his hand, which I don't take. The real father, he says, his tone apologetic. I'm so sorry for all this confusion. I had no idea until recently. When Emily and I were together before she met you, it seems. The realization hits me like a sledgehammer. Not a current affair, but a ghost from her past, resurrected by circumstance. I'm leaving, I announce, my voice devoid of emotion. The sight of their reunion, the joy in Emily's eyes, it's too much. The realization that my revenge, my actions were all misplaced, burns through me. As I drive away, the finality of it all settles in. Emily and I are over, not because of betrayal, but because of my inability to trust, to forgive. The deception was mine, born of wounded pride and a thirst for revenge. Now, I am left with nothing but the echo of my own mistakes, a bitter lesson learned too late.